Do you ever hear people talking about their side hustles and think, why not me? Well, what's stopping you? We worked with HubSpot to create a database of 100 side hustle ideas that you can start now. Everything from design and real estate to public speaking and wellness. There's something in there for everyone. Plus, we cover the skills you need and the investment you'll probably have to make to get started. Ready to break out of your 9 to 5? Go to HubSpot.com/THDS to download for free.
Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, December 18th. I'm John Weigell with Rob Litterst, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Airbnb has hit a snag in the U.S. as short-term rental regulations have emerged over the past few years. Now, CEO Brian Chesky is staring at the daunting prospect of global expansion to grow the business. So how is Airbnb moving into countries like Brazil, Japan, and China moving forward? We'll get to that in a little bit, but first, let's give you the news in business and tech. First, to kick us off here, Waymo is sending about 25 of its autonomous vehicles to Japan in 2025 to get mapping and Japanese driving data. A local taxi operator is going to manually drive the cars at first, eventually transitioning to hands-free mode with a safety driver at the wheel. Rob, what do you make of this move from Waymo to international waters?
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that they're going to Japan because I feel like they haven't really expanded that much outside of San Francisco in the US. So I feel like there's just a lot more domestic territory for them to cover before going international. I don't know the specifics here, but I'm guessing that Japan could be a really solid testing ground just because of the layout. Mm-hmm. But Waymo looking really good. I think GM shut down its Cruise autonomous cars unit last week.
That's right.
And I mean, Waymo definitely looking like it's going to be them, Tesla, maybe Uber's going to play a role there. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the winners in the autonomous vehicle space. So curious to see how it goes in Japan for sure.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, especially because Japan, of course, has big taxi culture. They have Uber. It's Uber eligible over there, but they also have this app called Taxi Go, which apparently like 80% of the population is on, and it does really well too. So it seems like a hard space to break in, but at least testing it should be fine. And I feel like Japan is a good place to try out some new innovations.
100%.
Moving on to Amazon, a few different headlines here for Amazon today. First, if you remember that Amazon return to office policy, it's not going too hot for a lot of people. Some corporate locations are delaying the 5-day return to office mandate simply because they don't have the space for everybody. Employees in cities like Atlanta, Houston, Nashville, and New York will potentially continue hybrid work until May of 2025. This is bad.
Not great.
I do not like this one bit.
Yeah. I don't understand how you don't have that data beforehand to know we're not going to be able to fit everybody. Yeah. I don't understand how you get into this situation. How is the planning not better than that, I guess?
I mean, happy only for the people that don't exactly have to go back full time and that can still hybridize.
Yeah, it's like kind of a blessing in disguise.
But it is kind of disorganized on the company's part of deciding like, okay, we have all this office space, but just not enough, I guess.
100%.
Continuing with Amazon, a Senate investigation alleges that Amazon manipulated data to appear safer, when in reality, its warehouse workers are about 2 times as likely to be injured as other companies due to the retailer's, quote, extremely fast and often dangerous pace, which kind of makes a lot of sense. Amazon, though, has denied the report's findings. I mean, this kind of tracks. When you promise the 1-day deliveries or same-day deliveries, that's got to come at some sort of cost.
I live on a pretty sleepy street. The only time a car is like flying down our street is when it's an Amazon truck.
Oh yeah.
There's one time somebody was driving so fast that I actually chased him down and like told him he has to slow down because there are kids in the neighborhood. And he literally said like, I have to hit my deadline, man. I have work to do.
Oh my God.
And so I think they do push these guys just super, super hard. And yeah, this is the outcome.
Yeah. From there, we can jump to fees. We hate hidden fees, and hopefully now we have a solution for them. The FTC passed a new rule on Tuesday that's going to make ticket, hotel, and vacation rental sites reveal total prices, including any additional fees up front, meaning any last-minute add-on charges are going to be gone, which is great.
100%. We were going to go to a concert a few months ago, and we ended up canceling. And I looked at the receipt and what we actually had to pay for the ticket versus the fees, and it was like 50-50. Mm-hmm. Ticketmaster and Live Nation just have an absolutely crazy stranglehold on live events.
Absolutely. And lastly here, ageism is real in the workplace, and here's some proof. A study from My Perfect Resume reported that 99% super high, of professionals over the age of 40 think there's some degree of ageism at their organization. And in addition to that, 88% of older workers also feel the need to adjust their language to fit in with a young crowd. So if you, I guess, start hearing Riz more in the workplace, Rob, you know that people are trying to be hip and cool.
Can I say sus? Is sus a cool thing to say?
You may say sus.
My third grade nephew is obsessed with the word sus right now. So that's my personal favorite.
That's great. But yeah, these statistics are pretty damning, unfortunately, that people above the age of 40 think that there is ageism in their workplace. And I mean, to think that that amount of people feel some sort of problem stemming from their age is kind of bad.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, you look at a lot of the more successful companies, and a lot of them were started by people who were over the age of 35, many of them over the age of 40. 40 is not old. And I'm not just defending myself here as I'm hitting my late 30s. I've been in companies where you see the differences between folks that are early millennial, I guess like late Gen Xers maybe, and then like Gen Z. And there's definitely a lot of differences between these generations. So it's super interesting.
For sure.
Hey everybody, it's your host, John Weigell. If you love the insights HubSpot brings to your podcast feed, then you're going to love Marketplace Tech. This daily podcast keeps you up to speed about the latest in tech news and what it all means for the economy. With stories about AI regulation, the fight against misinformation, and the latest in crypto, Marketplace Tech is essential listening to understand the business behind innovation. Listen to Marketplace Tech wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, with that, let's hit our main story of the day. Airbnb has notoriously felt a lot of pressure from the US government, so much that they're now looking outside of the country to really expand their business. So Rob, where do they want to expand to? Where do they want to go?
So Airbnb is looking to get all over the place, John.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they have some huge expansion markets. So they're looking at Mexico and Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at Asia, Japan, India, South Korea, and China. And they're looking further into Germany, Italy, and Spain and Europe. And I think like the big commonality here is there's a lot of demand for traveling in these countries, and Airbnb does not have a lot of supply yet. So what they're basically trying to do is match up, as they are, kind of like a marketplace, right? They're looking to match their supply with the existing demand and kind of take a piece of that demand.
Yeah.
The company said it has 8 million active listings globally, which compares to 17 million hotel rooms globally. So they're trying to close that gap. And it seems like they're trying to do it kind of continent by continent at this point.
Yeah, it sounds that way because all those places that you mentioned reek of tourism, right?
Totally.
People love visiting those places. There's a lot of tourism economy set up in those places and tons of hotel rooms, as you just mentioned, like 17 million recited in this Business Insider article, and then 8 million Airbnb places. So when they first started, I felt like it was more rivaling a hotel in that they're offering a less expensive option. And as they've kind of gotten more traction, it now seems pretty similar to hotel costs, although hotel costs have been rather expensive as of late too.
100%.
So what would you say is Airbnb's main problem? What problems are they facing in the US that won't allow them really to expand?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in the US and abroad, a lot of countries are cracking down on short-term rentals because they displace locals and attract tourists who can often be unruly, right? And not treat the place that they're staying like home. An example of this would be Barcelona. They have an estimated 20,000 Airbnb listings, but said they're going to ban all short-term rentals by 2028. There are other cities like London and Paris that have been enforcing strict limits on the number of nights each year that a property can be listed for short-term renting.
Yeah.
And internationally, Jamie Lane, who runs analytics and is the chief economist at AirDNA, said in some countries, hosting strangers isn't really culturally acceptable, which is part of why Airbnb pulled out of China in 2022. To me, the biggest challenge with all this is like every single one of these countries is going to have different regulations. It just feels like a crazy headache to expand into all of these markets at the same time. I mean, if it works, it's going to be huge, but it seems like it would be a pretty challenging needle to thread.
Yeah. You would think the solution here is to hire at least a team in each country that you're looking to do more in that knows kind of the local culture, knows the hotel culture, knows what people want when they visit. Like somebody who really, really has a good idea of what people actually want to do when they get to this place and the kinds of places that are popular for people to rent or visit. So I think they really, really need to do their detail work.
Yeah.
If they're looking to expand this much, they can't just be like, all right, we're offering all these Airbnbs in Japan. They have to find a way to fit in with the culture essentially everywhere that they go.
And I mean, there's data behind the impact of short-term rentals, right? So it's not like countries are just wanting to ban this or parts of the US are wanting to ban this on no data. In the US in 2020, researchers found that Airbnb growth in the median zip code accounted for an increase of $9 in monthly rent and $1,800 in home prices, right? So they're causing some light jumps there. In New York City, a comptroller found that between 2009 and 2016, 9.2% of the jump in rental rates could be tied to Airbnb. So they're clearly kind of having an impact on housing inventory and prices. And it makes sense that some of these countries and municipalities want to protect their citizens or their consumers and don't want that factor to be kind of added to the mix at this point.
Yeah. I mean, in New York City, where I'm based, there is definitely a limit on Airbnbs in the city now. There are limitations with how much a city will let them expand and will let people come in and, take up that space that was once held by locals. But yeah, Airbnb is really just hoping they can present convenient lodging for any city to anybody that's looking for it. And they're kind of making some steps to do that, right?
Totally. I mean, they're implementing new payment methods that are preferred by locals around the world, which talk about a headache, like dealing with all of the different currencies and figuring out how to process payments in all these countries.
Yeah. I think we can summarize of what we've talked about today is that it is going to be very hard. And it seems like it will be quite difficult to be the Airbnb CEO right now and trying to delineate the task of how do we get presence in all of these countries at the same time and kind of go through these regulations from city to city, from country to country, and they're all different. So yeah, they definitely need to have all of their buttons firmly buttoned on these issues.
100%.
All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor is Robert Hartwig. Our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. Go get signed up at thehustle.co/email and throw us a follow on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. We'll catch you tomorrow.